Several servants take Chu Tianqiu to a temple in western Qin. He wakes up and realizes he is about to be married to Princess Ji Ruxin. He wonders if he is dreaming and is happy because the princess is beautiful. The servants then say he will be put in a coffin, and Tianqiu screams. The servants panic as they run, and he realizes he isn't dreaming. He realizes he has been reborn into Chu Tianqiu's body and receives Tianqiu's memories. Tianqiu was raised by his stepmother after his mother's death and suddenly died of a disease. He says his body is weak and will last only a few days. The servants report to Empress Zhao Moyan about Tianqiu's revival, and Morong Jiangju instructs Morong Zhu, her niece, to look into it. She goes to the room where Tianqiu is and attempts to kill him. Tianqiu activates the system as he is about to die, and it gives him X-ray vision. Zhu wonders how he isn't dead, and he falls on her and she screams. Several people rush into the room, and Zhu accuses Tianqiu of forcing himself on her. The people are not surprised because of his reputation, and Tianqiu thinks of how he will save himself. Jiangju asks Moyan to punish her stepson impartially, and she sentences him to death. Tianqiu receives a skill from the system and senses that Ruxin isn't dead. He informs Moyan that he can revive her, and the imperial doctor, Li Changqing, says it's impossible. The Empress silences them and says she will punish Tianqiu with all the torture methods if he fails. The people leave as Tianqiu undresses the princess. He uses an acupuncture method on her, and an hour passes. Jiang Yu and Zhu plan on killing Tianqiu, but he opens the door and says he has revived the princess. They rush into the room and see that she is still dead, but Tianqiu calls them quack doctors. He removes the acupuncture pin from her forehead, and she is revived immediately. The doctors are shocked as they see this, and Tianqiu says she will wake up in 3 days as he treats her. He insults Chang Qing and says he is useless. Moyan calms him and says he is Ruxin's husband by posthumous marriage. She says he will live in the palace, and Zhang Yu insists Zhu stays with him. The Empress agrees, and Tianqiu realizes he must rely on himself to survive. The Empress instructs everyone to leave the room and asks Chu Tianqiu if he is alright. He informs her the princess is still in danger, and he is unable to save her because he is weak. He says he needs to treat her daily, but is unable to, and she instructs Zhu to take him to another room where he will receive treatment. The doctor informs Zhu that Tianqiu will die soon and no ordinary treatment will work. He informs the Empress that they need a spirit practitioner, and she realizes it is difficult to find one. Everyone leaves the room, and the system informs Tianqiu that he has 7 days and 21 hours to live. It says there are methods to extend his lifespan, and he accidentally refuses. He then sacrifices 7 days of his lifespan to know the options and selects the 4th, which is to work hard and become a god. It infuses him with a spirit seedling and says he must enter the dream state to raise his cultivation. He is excited because he doesn't have to do much to become strong and says he will defeat Zhu. Zhu enters the room as Tianqiu pretends to sleep, and he says it is bad luck interrupting someone's sleep. He thinks of a way to get rid of her and instructs her to retrieve some clothes for him. He says she should call Qiyu and Dongyu, and Zhu informs him they were sold to a merchant. Tianqiu instructs her to buy them back, but she says it's impossible. He says his body is too weak to hold a needle and grabs her breast as he asks if she can bear the consequences. Zhu screams as she tries to leave, but Tianqiu follows her and spanks her. She attempts to attack him, but he hits her and says she should know her place. She decides to leave the room and instructs Tianqiu not to run away. He returns to his bed and enters the dream state, aiming to accumulate 100 spirit force in his spirit core. Zhu returns to Jiangyu and informs her that Tianqiu will not live past 7 days unless the Great Reverend intervenes. Jiangyu plans to arrange a posthumous marriage to ascend their family into royalty, and she instructs Zhu to watch Tianqiu. Zhu informs her that Tianqiu wants Qiyu and Dongyu to warm his bed, and she insults him. Jiangyu asks Zhu to endure and execute Tianqiu if he is alive after 7 days. Meanwhile, Tianqiu accumulates spirit force in his spirit core and successfully gathers 100 spirit force. He ascends to spirit practitioner and extends his lifespan by a year. He gains the ability to create illusions and plans on using them against Zhu, but realizes it is different from hypnosis. He continues to accumulate spirit force, and the system tests his foundation. He decides to charge up his meridians and open his acupuncture points, but is only able to open one after an hour. Zhu returns to Tianqiu's room with his clothes, and he asks for the money. She says he doesn't need it, and he sees that she is hiding his jade. Tianqiu takes it as he rips her clothes, and she wonders how he found out its location. She says she wanted to gift it to her brother Tianming, but Tianqiu found it. Zhu talks to Jiangyu and is informed that Tianming is returning in a month. She plans on finalizing his marriage to Zhu after Tianqiu's death. Tianqiu goes to Yaxing Street in Qin's capital. The people are shocked to see that he is still alive, and he informs Zhu that he needs people to warm his bed. He says he has a few days before he dies and wants to enjoy himself. A man named Big Mouth Lu recognizes Tianqiu and offers to be his guide. Tianqiu asks for his maidservants, and Lu says they are being auctioned. He takes them to the auction house, and the maidservants, who are twins, are about to be auctioned. The auctioneer informs the people that Tianqiu is impotent and the girls are still virgins. As the bidding starts, several people are interested in the girls, and Zhu smirks as she wonders how Tianqiu will afford them. Lu tells Tianqiu that the auction price for the twins starts at 3,500 silvers, and several men call higher values for her. A woman named Shang Guanyin joins the auction, and the people are surprised that she is interested in the girls. Tianqiu informs the people that no one will go home with the girls, and they are happy to see him. He decides to use Zhu as collateral and tells her no one is allowed to touch his belongings. The people at the auction say Zhu is on a higher level than the girls, and Guanyin decides to give up the auction for his sake. She realizes the rumors of his revival are real, and she cannot offend him because he is the royal consort. The bidders realize they cannot win against Tianqiu, but Li Zhuancheng decides to continue. Tianqiu is excited to see him, but Zhuancheng isn't and says he won against him. Tianqiu calls him a parasite that follows him wherever he goes and tries to be better than him. He suggests that they continue their bet and decide to see who the best playboy is. The bidders are interested in the competition they are about to have, and Tianqiu insults Zhuancheng as he says poems have nothing to do with playboys. They decide to work out random girls' 3 measurements, and Zhuancheng puts all the money in his possession on the line. Guanyin offers 4 girls, and Tianqiu accurately says a girl's measurements. They argue about the measurements of the girl in green, and Tianqiu instructs her to remove her bra's padding. The girl removes the padding, and Tianqiu wins the contest. He takes Zhuancheng's money and purchases the twins from the auctioneer. The twins are happy to return to their master, but Zhuancheng doesn't believe he lost. He attacks Tianqiu and accuses him of colluding with the girl in green. The twins knock Zhuancheng down, and he instructs his men to attack Tianqiu and the girls. They defeat the men with ease as Zhuancheng is surprised, and Tianqiu says the twins' skills are on par with Zhu's. Tianqiu calls Zhuancheng a sore loser, and Zhuancheng challenges him to a duel. Tianqiu refuses to accept, and Zhuancheng wagers 5,000 silvers. Tianqiu agrees, but the twins ask him not to be rash. He decides to conceal his skills so the crowd can accept his victory. He tells Zhuancheng he can defeat him without a sword, and the audience wonders what he is thinking. They say he is arrogant and wants to die, and Zhuancheng attacks. He hits Tianqiu with his blade and is shocked that he didn't dodge. Zhuancheng is shocked as he sees a strange illusion around Tianqiu and immediately admits defeat. The audience is confused as to what just happened and says Tianqiu probably had a hidden trump card. A man carries Zhuancheng and Tianqiu instructs him to send the money to the palace. A soldier emerges and asks Tianqiu to return to the palace and continue Ruxin's treatment. Tianqiu returns to the palace with the twins, and Guanyin feels he has completely changed. Tianqiu meets the Empress, and she notices he has found a way to heal himself. He says he needs a few more days to completely recover and proceeds to continue the treatment. Ruxin achieved the 6th stage of body tampering at a young age, and the ray of light on her head is her spirit force. Her spirit seed is in her brain, and Tianqiu realizes she will become retarded if he hurts her brain. He uses his technique to treat her as he moves her around her body, and her spirit force returns to her subconscious. She slowly wakes up and attacks Tianqiu as she sees him. Ruxin insults Tianqiu as she hits him, and the Empress enters the room. She rushes to hug her daughter, who informs her that a servant poisoned her. Ruxin asks Moyen why she let Tianqiu treat her, and she explains all that happened. The Empress says she cannot kill Tianqiu and asks him to leave the room. Tianqiu leaves, and Moyen tells Ruxin that the other princes will stop attempting to marry her because of him. Tianqiu stands outside, and a servant runs to him. She informs him that Prince Beiyu has arrived and says he wants to visit the princess. The Empress informs Tianqiu that the palace is not ready to receive Beiyu and instructs him to deal with the situation and prevent his entry. Tianqiu walks away and realizes he will die if he loses the royal family's protection, but says he must sort out the situation. Hu Wanlang yells at the palace guards and demands they let him in. The guards say they are not allowed to enter the royal grounds without an official invitation and inform Beiyu that it isn't his country. Tianqiu emerges and calls Wanlang a dog. The guards inform him that Tianqiu is the royal consort, and Wanlang laughs and calls him a weakling. The onlookers wonder how the princess ended up with Tianqiu as her consort, and Beiyu emerges. He asks Tianqiu to leave, but Tianqiu refuses and says the princess is his wife. Beiyu releases a fierce aura, and his horned wolf dislikes Tianqiu. Zhu worsens the situation by asking Tianqiu to teach Beiyu a lesson. Beiyu steps off the horned wolf and informs Wanlang they will proceed to propose marriage. He terrifies a guard as he passes, but Tianqiu stops him. Tianqiu says Beiyu is from a barbaric country and he doesn't have basic courtesy. Wanlang gets angry as Tianqiu talks, but says Beiyu met the princess without requesting an audience. He asks Beiyu to leave and properly prepare when next he is coming. Wanlang says Beiyu is the best gift for the princess, and Tianqiu asks if he considers the prince as a commodity that he can gift anyone. Beiyu asks Wanlang to shut up and insist on meeting the princess. Tianqiu says he will never win Ruxin's heart and says she loves poetry. Tianqiu challenges Beiyu to write poems and the princess will judge them. The loser will back off and leave the princess alone. The audience is shocked by Tianqiu's challenge and is scared because rumors say he has never read a book. Beiyu agrees to select the topic, and his men say he will easily defeat Tianqiu. Zhu is happy as she thinks Tianqiu will lose, and Beiyu selects the plains of his home as the first topic. They begin the challenge, and Tianqiu says he will use the Chinese culture to his advantage. Several people gather as they realize Beiyu is having a poetry competition against Tianqiu. A guard instructs a servant to inform the Empress and the princess of what is happening, and Wanlang gathers a larger crowd to embarrass Tianqiu. Tianqiu decides to go first because Beiyu needs time to think, and the crowd is astonished by his wonderful poem. He completes his poem, and even Beiyu is shocked, but Wanlang laughs. He says Tianqiu's poem is terrible, but Beiyu slaps him and says he should appreciate the good poem. Tianqiu wins the first poem, and Beiyu says they should use Ruxin's beauty as the next topic. The servant gets to the Empress and the princess and informs them that the competition is happening publicly. They receive Tianqiu's poem and are shocked by how good it is. They wonder if he is the one who wrote it, and the servant confirms he is the one who wrote it. Ruxin doesn't care because the poem is about Beiyu's country, but another servant runs in with a second poem. She says it's about her beauty and reads it out to her. Ruxin is shocked as she hears the poem and how beautiful it is. The Empress says he has praised her, and she begins to blush. Meanwhile, Tianqiu talks to Beiyu and says it is his turn to say a poem. Beiyu says Tianqiu's poem will be unchallenged for years, and he will make a fool of himself if he challenges it. He admits defeat, and the people are happy at Tianqiu's victory. Wanlang accuses Tianqiu of cheating, and the people suspect he hired someone to form the poems beforehand. Tianqiu senses the audience's disbelief and asks Beiyu to give him another topic. Beiyu asks Tianqiu to write about the soldiers, and Tianqiu agrees. He begins his poem, and even the soldiers are touched by it. The poem touches Beiyu as he and his men can relate to it and admit that it is godly. He promises to pass down the poem for 1,000 years, but Wanlang attacks Tianqiu. Beiyu kills Wanlang and requests a friendly martial arts duel against Tianqiu for the sake of further relations and an exchange of culture. Beiyu and his men leave the palace while dragging Wanlang's body, and the people wonder if Tianqiu will accept his request. Tianqiu says Beiyu accepted his poetry challenge, and it would be ungracious to refuse his challenge. Zhu gets angry as she realizes he is using the duel to buy time, and Tianqiu says he will defeat the prince. He returns to the emperor and the princess, and they ask how he plans to win the duel. He shuts the door and informs him that he is a spirit practitioner. Moyen and Ruxin are shocked by what he says, and he says he is hiding the information from his stepmother. He says he has activated and cleared Ruxin's meridians, and she confirms he is telling the truth. He says he will be able to defeat Beiyu in a month and requests for her support. Moyen agrees to help and instructs him to focus on his motivation. Ruxin says she owes him for saving her life as they leave the room, and he says he needs to lie down to get stronger. Meanwhile, Zhuan Cheng stands as some people play games and decides to leave. They inform him that the university class is about to start, but he refuses to attend. Later, Zhuan Cheng sees several people struggle to get Tianqiu's poems. He gets a copy and is shocked as he reads it. He gets motivated as he says he must defeat Tianqiu and runs to school. Guanyin also reads the letter and says Tianqiu is interesting. Elsewhere, Ruxin talks to her father, Ji Yi, the emperor of Western Qin. He decides to reward Tianqiu for all he has done. Ruxin realizes the emperor is aware of the upcoming duel, and he says Beiyu requested it, and it will hold in half a month's time. They will decide who will marry Ruxin after the duel, but Ruxin gets annoyed. Moyen talks to her husband, and he reads Tianqiu's poems. He is astonished by the poems, and Moyen says Tianqiu is confident he can win the duel. The emperor realizes she wants to take Tianqiu under her wing and says everything she does is in his interest. The Chu family is strong and has powerful children, but Tianqiu becoming a mystic can overpower the family. The emperor approves her plans and says the duel will hold in a month. The end. Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos and make sure to subscribe and tap the bell to be notified about our latest videos. See you next time.